This video is for you if you've been having a hard time in life feeling authentically true to yourself while, just living your life day to day. You feel like you're holding a part of yourself back, a part of your soul back from the world because you're trying to constantly adjust to others, constantly adjusting or even lowering yourself in some kind of way to try to match other people's energy because you feel like you are your true soul expression. You want to express it out, but you were never able to really in this fake world. You've always had to try to adjust to try to make sure that you fit in, or you try to fit into your family the way your family thinks you should be, or the way that your job thinks you should be. So you hold certain things back, things that you think are right, or maybe you want to be funny and you want to be yourself, but you're holding it back because the rest of the world is just not there yet, right? But what if you were actually holding yourself back from the world, and the world actually needs you to be your true expression self, and the world actually could use you to be yourself? And I know it's kind of a process. It doesn't just happen right away. For me personally, I don't know if you can relate. I've always had this where people really didn't like me when they first met me. They thought it was just too weird, It was like just too much, kind of, or they didn't understand me, So kind of they put up their own barrier. But once they got to know me, and they realized, oh, okay, he actually is an authentic dude, He's an authentic person, and we like being around him. And it took me a while to understand that. And when I moved to South America, I had to learn a whole new language, and I really felt fake, really, in so many situations, especially with my wife. She's from down here in Peru, which is not tourism. It's very tough society, actually, in a lot of ways that I was really not used to. And I always felt like being a tall American white male, you're kind of either people look up to you or they envy you because they think you're, automatically famous and rich. And, so I had to deal with a lot of weird tensions. Let's just put it that way. It was just, it's just like I felt like I had to always kind of lower myself to kind of be with people. It's mostly men, looking at with envy and stuff, like somehow I have something that they don't, or that I have all these opportunities. Well, there's a reason why I left the United States. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, I realized over time I was finding myself trying to be too nice, and then people would take advantage of that, and then they'd say, oh, he's actually just kind of a pushover, and we'll just take advantage of him and try to rip him off or whatever. And then I was always, and then it actually just turned people off more, because I was just like not being authentically true, myself, right? Which the true version of myself is kind and all these things, but also not a pushover. And also, I've learned to be able to put barriers and borders, or boundaries. That's more like it, boundaries with people. And so I've learned to do that here and to be myself, and not have to be somebody else, So, and there's just a fine line with all that too. And you don't want to be too many barriers and be too mean, and then all of a sudden you're this other person, which I found myself becoming down here. I've had to be extremely tough with people, and stand up for my wife and to her family and all these things, just like so many battles. And then all of a sudden I find myself, I'd be in this kind of survival mode, like a lot of the people here are. So I've kind of adapted to that environment, but then sometimes I would lose myself as well in that process, and I've had to gain myself back. How did I do that? Listening to old music that I used to listen to, that would bring me back. Working out, exercising it out, and it might be the same way in your environment. What do you have to do to make sure that you're on your own vibration, wherever it is that you're at, and if there's things that you need to change and adjust, then figure out the exercises that you need to do to adjust that. I just listened to an interesting interview from Kathy O'Brien, which is like an MK Ultra victim. And whether you believe in all that or not, evidence is pretty crazy. But anyway, she was saying something very interesting, that writing with pen and paper, or pencil and paper, actually does something to the brain, and it helps you to get into your true self again. And actually, by typing on the keyboard, and we're constantly on these cell phones all the time now, scrolling. Like, what is that doing to our true, authentic versions of ourselves? And when I'm too much on the phone, and I do crypto, and I work a 9-to-5 job on the phone down here, there's some days where I feel like very not myself, like a shadow of myself. So I've recently started writing again, just with like pen and paper, even if it's just a little bit, and I can start to feel that remembering who I was, remembering that guy that has so much life in him that it has to express itself out. Otherwise, depression comes, or this kind of dead feeling, right? This sort of soulless shell feeling comes, and that's not the place where any of us want to be. And even though we're in a very difficult time in the world right now, where darker energies are dominating, let's just put it that way, to say the least, doesn't mean that we can't be a light, and it's like the Kali Yuga. They say the Kali Yuga goes through these gigantic cycles, and we're in one of the dark ones right now, and it's just starting. But instead of like looking at that as terrible depression and stuff, imagine you can shine your light, and you can overcome that in any of these ages, right? If you believe in that, or if you just like the idea of it, that we go through these ages, we're souls, and we imagine how much strength you would get if you are able to overcome all these things that are making you not yourself, not authentically you. Imagine if you were able to overcome that in these dark times. Imagine how strong it would be for your soul. You'd be really like going to the gym, So I just wanted to, before I start work, I just wanted to start making videos here again. And if you like that type of stuff, please subscribe to the channel. My name is Austin. Talk to y'all soon. Have a good day.